Hey guys, I already filmed this video, but my mic was not on. Oh boy, that happens to me. I think a lot more than it should. So I'm going to just try and go really quickly through all the books I read in June. That's what this video is all about. And I apologize if I seem like I am skipping over things or going too quickly because, like I said, I already filmed this and it was super long, but I'm going to try and just get through basics. Did I like the book? Did I not like it? Ideas. So let me grab my list that is on the ground now. Everything was so nicely stacked for you too. Okay, so I read a lot more Kindle books than physical books this month for no other reason than I was just in that kind of mode. And I will say that I only had 2 DNFs, which one was Nevernight and by J. Kristoff. No, not for me, absolutely not. The very first chapter, which this has never happened to me before, but read the first chapter, didn't continue. Immediately returned. So, because to me, the very first chapter, spoiler, is about a girl who's trained to be an assassin, and it's contrasting her very first sexual encounter with her very first murder, using almost the exact same setup and language. And I think that the author thought that was very clever and something, but I hated it. I didn't like it at all. Besides the fact that her first sexual encounter is happening with a prostitute, she's 16. It was just, I think he's trying to say that it didn't mean anything to her, that she just wanted to get it out of the way. And I guess, okay, but I can't connect with that character. It didn't mean anything to me. So as the person reading it, I'm like, why should I care about her and what's happening? This is kind of, just being thrown at me like, oh, here she's murdering someone, here she's sleeping with this guy. And the writing to me felt like, I'm going to be very clever. Here, I'm going to use this line here. I'm going to use this line here. Look, they match. And I hated it so much. Got returned, but just my opinion. I also read Bride of the Sea, which I did not continue. It's by Emma Hamm. It was not very good. I didn't like the setup of it. It's a kind of Little Mermaid-ish story, but none of the characters were that great. I didn't really like the main love interest. He was kind of, so I didn't enjoy it and stopped reading. Then a book that I liked until I didn't, Uprooted. I don't remember the author's name, Naomi something, and I cannot even pronounce the main girl's name. So, but it is about a girl who gets taken from her village by this wizard who basically rules over the town. And he's called the Dragon, and he does this every so often. I think it's like every 10 years he gets a new girl. And this land and magical setup was very well done. The story was interesting. I liked it. Until towards the end of the book, there is a very graphic sexual encounter that was out of nowhere. Like, I was so shocked that this was in that book at all, and it just made no sense to the story. And I also didn't like that, spoiler, this is happening between the dragon, he has a real name, I don't remember what it was, and the main character, and he's like older. Like, I don't know if he's supposed to be like hundreds of years old, but he's definitely older, and she's like 16 or 17. It just kind of grossed me out, and I didn't feel like it was necessary at all to the story. So, not my favorite. I read Frankenstein. That was a buddy read with my brother. We read usually a book a month together, and so I like that book. I've read it before in college. I think it's a book I would say everybody should read. It's a classic for a reason, but I think as I've gotten older, it was definitely harder to read it again. There's some difficult stuff in the book, and there is murder in the book, and spoiler, child murder. It's a tough book to read at times, and I did like it, though. I do think it brings up some very interesting questions. Frankenstein, of course, is Victor Frankenstein, who is the creator of the monster, so Frankenstein is not the monster. I guess that's all in your interpretation, but it's a very interesting look at, nature versus nurture, a being that's created and left without any kind of guidance or help, how can they live in society? And it's very sad, I'll say that, but a good read. I also read 3 other books by Emma Hamm. Sea of Crimson Silk, which I hated. It's it sounds super interesting, but it was basically not very, it fell very flat for me. The main character, Sigrid, I believe is how you say her name, is a, how was I going to say that? She's like a beast shifter. Yeah, beast shifter. And she is a dragon shifter, so she lives in a community of women. They all have these powers to shift into other animals. And she gets basically bartered to this other country to be the wife of their sultan to provide peace. So they were going to attack, and she's like, okay, I'll go. I'll be this guy's wife. And that way they have no reason to attack us because I am a powerful dragon shifter and they'll have me. And that kind of cements the, two countries in this peace agreement. And Nadir is the sultan that she goes and, becomes his wife. And I will say I was thankful there wasn't any encounter between them because they don't even seem to really like each other that much throughout the book, so that would have just been weird. But also, he is the love interest, and there was nothing between them. I didn't feel anything for them. I didn't like them together. He already has a wife, so she's the second wife, and I just didn't like it. I felt like there were so many places this book could have gone with her, seeing that there's oppression of these beast shifters and trying to help them, and it didn't go anywhere for me that I was excited about, and I really did not appreciate either of the main characters. And then the other two books I read by Emma Hamm were Gilded Rose and Emerald Rose, which are a Beauty and the Beast retelling and a Cinderella telling, and these were fine. I will say they're interesting enough. They're about these kind of gargoyle-esque creatures called the Dread that come, and one of them, the Dread, have taken over, and this girl has to go and she's trying to, save her village, but ends up with the Dread and has to kind of figure out what's going on and stay alive is her main goal. So that's the Beauty and the Beast one. And then the other one, the girl makes a deal with the King of the Dread, and she decides to have him train her to be a fighter. And this is kind of a very loose Cinderella retelling. Both of these were fine. I plan to read the third book. They were just interesting enough, and I do think the writing was good and the characters were interesting. Deep breath. So another book I read that was a Cinderella retelling was Soot and Slipper by Kate Stradling, and this was a good book. A little bit of a dark take on Cinderella, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really pretty well done. I like the main character and I like the love interest, and I appreciate that it's a little bit different. It followed the Cinderella story pretty well, but it added enough to make the main character have some interesting aspects to her that you don't normally get a lot of depth to a Cinderella character. You don't know a lot about her, but I liked that they added to her character a lot, and also spread out the ball so it was a masquerade style that happened every week, so she had more encounters with the love interest. So just overall improved the story, and I enjoyed it. Okay. The last book I read on my Kindle was The Witch's Tower, which is a Rapunzel retelling and goes from the perspective of Gothel, who is not evil in this retelling. She is actually there in the tower with Rapunzel to protect her. And when a prince comes to rescue Rapunzel, she tries to help him, but he falls under a spell, and Gothel and the prince's squire have to go get some magical items and try and rescue both Rapunzel and the prince. I will say, I like the idea of the story better than the execution. This is a fine story. It's nothing wrong with it, but for me, it was very much like an adventure of go get the item. So they have to go here, they have to get this, then they have to take that and go get this other item. And if you like the storytelling of we got to hit all these points, get all these things, go to the last, it's kind of almost video game-esque in that way, get the item, get the next item, go back and break the spell kind of stuff, then it's fine. And I liked it, and I thought that the Gothel was good, and it was overall enjoyable, but not my favorite. So then, this month I read some graphic novels, and one of them being Witchy, which is a story about a girl who lives in a land community where everybody has powers, and the amount of power you have depends on how long your hair is. So she actually hides her hair. She has quite long hair, and to escape kind of this power structure of you know, if you have power, you know, this long hair, you get conscripted into the army and have to fight for them and do what they want. And then if you have too much power, they basically just kill you. So this one was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't really connect with the main character. And I have to say, I thought it was because of the format and maybe just not liking graphic novels. But as you'll see with the next one, that's not really true. It just didn't really work for me. Oop. Okay. Oh, and that Witchy book was from my Owl Crate. These books. These are graphic novels, and this is Wire and Nerve, which is by Marissa Meyer. And if you know anything about the Lunar Chronicles, then you'll know about Aiko. And I love the Lunar Chronicles, and I have read them all, and they have a full review. And Aiko is the android who is Cinder's best friend, and these are her story. Like, it's a continuation of her story. Because Aiko is kind of not, her story doesn't really get wrapped up in the Lunar Chronicles, and I have to say I am so glad that somebody told me about these books, because I love Aiko, and I was so bummed that there wasn't more of her. So this set, you can buy them separate or together. It's Wires and Nerve and Gone Rogue. So good. Loved it, 5 stars. I love hearing, like, seeing everything from Aiko's perspective, and the continuation of her story was just awesome, and I love that it just fell right back in with all the characters you love, and it just was great. Love. So I would highly recommend. Definitely, especially if you love the Lunar Chronicles, and if you're an Aiko fan. I am a huge Aiko fan, so I was just like, when I saw that that's what it was about, I was like instantly buying it. Okay, and then I read Peter Pan. This I also read with my brother as a buddy read, so not this particular one I read on my Kindle, but it's the same one. So I like this book, a little bit dark, but good. And I think if you have seen the movie, if you like the Disney version of Peter Pan, definitely read the book. It's a fun one. It's, you know, a kid's book. It's not very long. And I think that it just makes the story that much more interesting. And I do think that it was, there's some things in it that kind of is a little bit weird, like Tiger Lily being an adult woman and having this kind of like interest in Peter Pan. And I don't know. And of course, Tink is, as always, just too sassy for her own good. And there, you know, there's just little things about it that maybe don't age well for like the modern era, but I do like that book. Okay, another 5-star read for me was The Blue Castle by Ellen Montgomery. This book is delightful on every level. Loved it. It's so cute and sweet, and I told my brother this is like The Notebook on steroids. Like that level of like just wonderfulness. And I actually hate The Notebook, but like it's that level of like, how do I say it? Like it's almost too much, but it's better to me in my opinion than The Notebook. I love how the main character, she's like 29, she's an old maid, everyone in her family has given up on her ever having any kind of life, and then she gets some news that makes her decide that she's going to live her life differently, and she's not gonna, you know, just sit around and let them decide her future. So I love this character, Valency Sterling. This book is just adorable and so lighthearted and fun, and it felt like, you know, like having tea and cuddling up in a warm blanket. Like that is this book. And I would recommend this to anybody, especially if you're an Ellen Montgomery fan. I'm just starting to read more of her books. I've read Anne of Green Gables and Emily of New Moon. I've read the whole Anne of Green Gables series, but I definitely think this one is worth reading. Last but not least, okay, Sorcery of Thorns. So this book is about Elizabeth. She works in a library where they store grimoires, which are magical spell books, and she's basically tasked with keeping the grimoires safe and not letting anything bad happen. Because if the grimoires get tampered with, they can turn into these evil creatures. And I will say that the setup of this book with the libraries that house all these grimoires and how the magical system works was good. But the problem that I have with this, and I would say, like, read this book. It's great. I really liked it. But it needed more. This needed to be a series, or at least have another book. The other characters, so Elizabeth is the main girl, and then Nathaniel Thorne is one of the main guy. I love him so much. Like, he reminds me of like Howl or Kel from A Darker Shade of Magic. Like, I'm a big fan of, like, the sorcerer guy is, like, a big fan. Didn't realize that, but I guess it's kind of my thing. And I really liked him, and I thought he was great and a fun character. But there's so much in this world, and so much with her and the libraries, and with him being a sorcerer and having the powers that he does, that just doesn't get explained because there's not enough time. I thought this was a very satisfying book to read. It was a quick read, and it has a very satisfying ending, but I wanted more. And I just wish this was a series because it's a really good book. So those are my thoughts on it. And I would definitely say read it. It's good. Okay, those are all the books I read in June. And thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if this was a long one. I plan to continue my series of books with bad film adaptations because there's just a lot to talk about there. Probably The Hobbit will be coming up very soon because I need to talk. It's been too long and I need to rant. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I just so appreciate everybody who's subscribed lately and talked to me on YouTube or Bookstagram. I just can't thank you all enough. So thank you. Talk to you soon.